Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ron, and today I'm going to be talking about ammo efficiency in Deep Rock because this has been asked quite a few times. How do I be more ammo efficient in Hazard 4 and Hazard 5? And I attempted to make a video about this. It was actually just the last video I uploaded, which was using the most ammo build, just the most amount of ammo that I could have. I've also made a video using the least ammo efficient build that I could think of to make, and took that on like a elimination mission. That was quite interesting. And neither one of these are necessarily good or bad for playing on Hazard 4 or Hazard 5. It definitely depends on the mission type, and it depends on what you wish to accomplish. I tried to explain this briefly in the most ammo build, but I don't feel like I did a great job at it, so I'm going to kind of go over some of the basics that I think is important to having a more ammo efficient build or an ammo efficient playstyle. I think is a better way of putting this. And first up would be going over a build. So for this, I'm going to be using Karl.gg, which is a great site. It's what I use to do all the build guides and stuff like that. It's an online calculator, it's completely free. Now, enemies have different health scalings based on different difficulties and how many dwarfs there are. Kind of. It depends on which enemies we're talking about. If it's bigger things like Praetorians, they scale up based on both level and the amount of dwarfs that are playing. If you're talking about just regular grunts, then it's only on the difficulty that you're scaling. And most enemies don't get that much more health between Hazard 4 and Hazard 5. It's mostly that there's just more enemies, they move faster, they attack quicker. So for this, I have the M1000 pulled up because I feel like the M1000 is really good for kind of illustrating this point of being more ammo efficient. And this is how quickly can you kill enemies, or how can you kill enemies with the least amount of bullets needed to kill them, and how to be ammo efficient. So without any overclocks on the M1000, you can already one-shot headshot grunts to the head, because grunts have 108 health on Hazard 4 and Hazard 5. Since the M1000 does 55 damage, if you hit a grunt in the head, you will deal 110 damage, since headshots deal double damage, at least towards grunts. There is different multipliers on weak spot damage. Sometimes it's 2 times, sometimes it's 3 times, it depends on the enemy type. So with this, you can kill one grunt with just one bullet and be pretty ammo efficient. Now, enemies do have armor, so if you use a charge shot, then you're using up 2 ammo, and this will double your damage as well with the M1000, and you'll be doing 110 damage. But grunts have light armor, which makes it so they take 20% reduction in damage. That is unless you have armor breaking. So if you take hardened rounds with the M1000 and use a charge shot, you can then one-shot body shot them. So it can be a headshot if you're real accurate, or it can be a body shot if you're not so accurate. And another thing that you can do with the M1000 is pair this with the super blow-through rounds. This makes it so you can punch through up to 3 enemies with 1 bullet, and if all 3 of those enemies are just normal grunts, and you're using a charge shot, then you're going to be killing all of those enemies with just that 1 bullet. So with just these 2 choices in mods, your gun is much more ammo efficient if you're using it in this way. Now, this isn't the only way to build the M1000, and against bigger enemies, this build is not going to be as useful. It's still going to work really well, but it's not going to be as useful as just going all damage, and this logic can apply to any of the weapons. For certain weapons, it does make sense to kind of wait or to use an alternative way of fighting. This point really applies to Driller, where with the flamethrower, yeah, you can torch something until it's dead, but once it's on fire, it's going to be taking health over time from the fire dealing damage to it, as well as the sticky flames on the ground will burn enemies even more, dealing more damage. So you don't need to use up as much fuel with it to kill enemies. Cryo Cannon is a great example of this too, where if you freeze an enemy, they take extra damage, particularly from melee. And if you use your pickaxe or your drills, then you can kill enemies very fast as Driller and be quite ammo efficient. So there's kind of little ways to build your classes in being more ammo efficient and sort of playstyles to be a little bit more ammo efficient. One thing that I think should be mentioned is the pickaxe and you killing enemies with the pickaxe. It's really important to get the power attack on the pickaxe, and then to go with any of the tier 2 options with the pickaxe. You can go with extra damage, extra AoE, or a faster cooldown. I like the faster cooldowns, that way I can use it more often, and I use this very often against large enemies and just stragglers. I also use it in combination with my regular weapons. If enemies get too close while I'm firing, I usually spin over and use the pickaxe power attack to either kill or stun anything that gets too close and starts hitting me. You can use this to break armor, and you can use this to deal really high damage to certain enemies, because most enemies in this game are weak to melee damage. And of course, another point of ammo efficiency is bringing the right equipment that kind of complements each other. You can take all single target damage on both your weapons, and you'll be really good at killing big things, but you will struggle with hordes because you'll just be running through ammo more. You could also go the opposite of that and go really well in crowd control, but then be struggling with big things because it's just taking you so much ammunition to kill large things like Praetorians and oppressors. So making a build that helps complement both of them makes a lot of sense. I'm going to use Gunner as an illustration here with overclocks. And let's say we're taking neurotoxin payload, which lowers our damage, so we're not that great against big things. However, this gives us poison damage, which deals damage over time, and this is great for crowd control because it slows down all enemies and will deal damage to them. So if we're trying to fight big enemies, this isn't going to be that great, and building for full damage on it really isn't that impressive either. This isn't an overclock that really benefits from that, so it would make more sense to just build this one all for crowd control, which is usually what I do with a build like this one. But then we could pair this with a heavy damage secondary, like the revolver here, and let's take something like elephant rounds, where we have a reduction in ammo, a reduction in magazine size, a lot of recoil, but we have buffed our damage to double. So taking some extra ammo here to offset the amount of ammo we got, or taking a damage mod, and then just going with the base amount of ammo that we get, and then building this more for single target damage, we now have something that can kill large enemies and large threats like Praetorians, menaces, anything that might cause issues that's going to have a lot of health. And then we can rely on our autocannon to kill all the rest of the enemies, all the grunts, all the swarmers, all that stuff. That's going to be the bulk of the enemies that we're fighting. With this particular build, you are quite ammo efficient too, just because you have two weapons that complement each other so well, and when you're switching between them against the appropriate enemies, it can be a really strong combination. Now, those are just a couple examples that you can make pretty much any weapon work and pretty much every overclock work on any difficulty I've found. Some of them will take a little bit more time to get used to, and the more familiar you are with the weapon, the easier it is for you to adapt to new situations, as well as just getting more experience of playing Has 4 and Has 5. Another important thing that you should be trying to do with Has 4 and 5 is try to get to that 80 Nitra as quickly as possible. Make sure that's your top priority. You don't need to be going out of your way to get gold just because it happens to be there. Also, just don't be standing around in the team if you're waiting for the driller to drill through the dirt cave or whatever. Just mine through it yourself. Same goes with if you see any Nitra up above and you're not playing scout. You have ways of getting up there. You can parkour up there with your platform gun. You can use the zipline gun to get to it. You can use your drills or your EPC if you're playing driller, or your C4 to get it. You have a lot of ways to get just about anything you want with driller. So unless it's right up on the ceiling and engineer and scout have to kind of work together to where it's just at a really awkward angle, there shouldn't be a reason as to why anybody's not going for more Nitra for the team. So hopefully this kind of helped you out and kind of explained how to be more ammo efficient in Hazard 4 and Hazard 5. Be sure to leave your tips down below too. I would love to read through those. Special thanks to the supporters of this channel. These are my members over here on YouTube and my patrons over on Patreon. They get early access to videos like this. If you would like to be a part of it, there is a link down in the description. Thanks to everybody who does that. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.